Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are super excited to be talking about all things LinkedIn specifically today. So I know many of you I am connected with on LinkedIn, or you've spoken with me in the past and asked me questions about LinkedIn. And it's one of those platforms people seem to either have a love or a hate relationship with. Actually, I'd love to know from all of you. Maybe let us know in the chat. Up until now, have you loved LinkedIn, hated or been annoyed by it, or really just indifferent? Because it'll give me a good barometer of where we're at. But what we want to do today is talk about why it really can be such a driver for business growth and what you need to do to make it happen for your own firm or your own business or just your own personal brand. So we're going to start by really honing in on who's on the platform, who's it's a good fit to target, and then we'll move into how you update your own page and some tricks that I'm sure many of you have not noticed that you could do before. And then we'll talk about the algorithm and what kind of content LinkedIn likes to prioritize. Okay, so let's see what everybody is saying. How do you feel about LinkedIn? It's fine. I wish I could get more out of it. Indifferent to mildly annoyed. The annoyance probably comes from all those unsolicited direct messages we all get from people asking us if we need help with their services, right? Hopefully you're not doing that. That is a bad one. People saying lately annoying and brutal. I like it, Blair. Okay, good call out. Not much to engage with, just a static resume. Not quite to loving it yet, but just getting started. I enjoy using it. So we've got kind of a mix of people, a surprising amount of spam. Yes, I mean, it's very different than email. Anybody can go on, find you, and send you a message. So it seems like it's getting harder and harder sometimes to tune out those messages. So tip number one, before we even get started, don't be the person that spam messages other people about your services and how you can offer them, because nobody likes it, as we can see from everybody here. Oh, I gotta love it. I love that somebody said they love it. So I'm going to share my screen. I do have some slides, and we will be sharing the slides with all of you because there's some good how-tos in there. But I'm also going to be pulling up my own LinkedIn page quite often. And when I do that, we'll be going through things live. So hopefully you can all see my page here right now. If we are not connected on LinkedIn, now is a great time for you to send me a connection request, and hopefully we can get connected every single day, pretty much about 5 days a week. I will post something that hopefully will be helpful to all of you as financial advisors or people working in finance, and how to grow through digital marketing. So it's always a good place to connect. And then if you have questions about your own profile and you connect with me there, you can direct message me and ask me to take a look at something, and it'll be a little bit easier for me to pay attention to it that way. Okay, so what we're going to do is go into, oh yeah, and thank you, Amanda, for putting in the link. So since we're officially getting started, today's presentation, how to optimize your LinkedIn presence to generate new business. And for those of you that I haven't met before, or this is your first time, welcome. I am Samantha Russell, the Chief Evangelist. And again, there is my LinkedIn handle. I started using LinkedIn myself just about 3 years ago for business purposes through content, right? So of course I had a LinkedIn profile that I would update whenever, I had a new title or something, but I wasn't using it really often for posting content and, connecting with other people and being diligent about it. So I'm going to share a little bit about my process and how I structure my LinkedIn activity. So hopefully that will be helpful to you too. But if you're a Twitter fan, I also have my Twitter account linked there. And there's a picture, my cute little fam. We're based here in State College, Pennsylvania. So I talked a little bit about what we're going to discuss already today, the top characteristics of a strong profile, how to develop a thoughtful and engaging strategy of content, and how to attract followers and drive engagement. And then everybody's favorite part, what's going on with the algorithm in 2021? What should you know? And then how do you, kind of hack, if you will, or play to the strengths of the algorithm so that you can be found by more people. So I wanted to start with this quote, which is over 60% of investors believe that most financial advisors make the same promises, making it hard to tell the difference between them. And this is from a 2018 Bank of New York Pershing study. And the reason that I'm starting with this from a presentation about LinkedIn is that it can often in our corporate buttoned up world be really hard to get creative with our marketing. But LinkedIn is one place where you can really show your personality based on what you post, how you talk about things. And that's true, of course, of every social media platform. But every advisor is pretty much able to use LinkedIn, whereas not everybody can use all the others. So I really like to start here because when somebody is going down that path, they get your name, maybe the name of 2 or 3 other potential advisors they could work with. What is going to set you apart? People are going to check out your website and they're going to look at your social feeds, and what they find will influence how they view you and, the initial part of that relationship, whether maybe even they book a meeting. So using LinkedIn here is a great strategy. And I've shared this story on another workshop we did before. So sorry if I'm repeating it, but the numbers are just too great to not share this. So this is an advisor that I know through LinkedIn actually. And just look at some of these numbers, right? He posted this, that he was sort of himself not sure of what the results of using LinkedIn would be. And so he did his first LinkedIn post in 2019, and he started keeping copious notes about his progress. And his first post only generated 3 views. He wrote 307 posts in 2019. So basically a post a day for the rest of the year. And he went from 300 to almost 2,000 followers. His average views went up to 2,000, almost 300. But most importantly, he added 8 new households in this LinkedIn experiment year and had the largest growth in net new assets in 10 years. Now, of course, pay attention to who he targets, right? Certified financial planner, practitioner for equity compensated executives. So who you target is going to be very important when you're thinking about whether LinkedIn's the right platform for you. But I'm sure for most of you, your target audience is probably on LinkedIn, or you wouldn't be here today. So maybe tell us in the chat, who are you specifically targeting? Is it people in your geographic area? Is it a certain niche audience? Maybe it's doctors or physicians. And do you know for sure whether LinkedIn is the right platform for you to be spending time on, or are you unsure? Let's get some feedback from each other in the chat while I share a couple more statistics. So there's actually 2 times the buying power. That's what the average LinkedIn user has, 2 times the buying power versus the average web user. So the Pew Research Center found that 49% of people who make $75,000 or more annually are LinkedIn users, versus just 26% of those who make between $30,000 and $74,999. So more affluent people are on LinkedIn. You can see on the right here some numbers. The more educated people who have a college degree or higher are 50% of the user base. They tend to be more urban and suburban versus rural. Pretty even split on male, female, and a lot of people in their working years, which makes sense. We don't see a lot of people that are super young or people who are already retired using LinkedIn. It's people in their working years. And it really is the most successful platform specifically for financial advisors. And this is me saying this and also looking at a lot of research from other people. This is a stereotype. So some of you might raise your hand and say, no, Facebook's been more successful for me, depending on who you target. But overall, typically, it is the most successful. And that is because of the affluent nature of the audience, the age of the audience, the senior level decision makers that are there, and the fact that people expect on LinkedIn to hear from other business owners, managers, and see and hear about content that includes things like finance. So it's just a very natural affinity, right? You might go to Facebook because you want to see pictures of your friends' kids or your grandkids, and you're not necessarily thinking about financial topics or work or goal setting. But on LinkedIn, when you're there, that's typically where your head is already at. This is one of my favorite slides. HubSpot found that LinkedIn is 277 times more effective, or percent effective, for lead gen than Facebook or Twitter. So when we talk about, getting more views on a post, yeah, that's great, but that's not a metric that's going to add to the bottom line. So if we look back at that first initial advisor, we talked about him adding 8 new households, right? What we all are very interested in is the conversion. I could care less if I'm getting hundreds of thousands of views on Facebook. If I'm not getting any new business from it, it's pointless. So this is another reason why a lot of people really love LinkedIn, is because even if you don't get the same number of eyeballs on your posts, the people that are seeing it tend to convert much at a higher rate. And then just two other quick stats for you that I think are super compelling. The median age of a new client that a financial advisory firm will get from social media in general is now 40 years old. And that's up 5 years from 2018, when the median age was just 35. So these numbers were published at the beginning of 2020. I'm waiting for Putnam Investments to release their 2020 data in 2021. And it'll be really interesting to see how the pandemic and all of us being home really adjusted this, right? I wouldn't be surprised if the average new age is now up a couple years, even higher. And 4.9 million was the average new AUM resulting from these social media initiatives. So huge, huge difference. I'd love to hear from all of you before we go into what you can actually do in your profile. Have you ever, raise your hand, gotten a meeting booked from somebody who said they found you from following you on social media before? Let us know in the comments. And maybe it was like an ad even, but just, have you ever gotten a new meeting booked from social media specifically? And if it's yes, do you know which platform? Can you share it? It would be super interesting to see what everybody has to say. Okay. Let's see. Yes, so from LinkedIn, and another yes from LinkedIn. Okay, we got 2 LinkedIn yes. Another yes from Twitter, some from Facebook and LinkedIn, some absolutelys, a couple, handful of no's. All right, so it's split. And probably if I looked at your individual profiles, whether you have one or not is really going to come down to a lot about your activity on these platforms. So we're going to talk about how that can happen. Jim said he's still waiting for that golden rainbow to shine on me. Jim, we're going to work to make it happen hopefully today. All right, so here is sort of like the homework that we're going to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this on the slide, and then we're going to actually go into my profile and show you how it looks live on LinkedIn in real time. So if you want to pull up on your desktop with you right now, your own LinkedIn page, and you can kind of examine side by side, that's a good way so that you know what you're doing and you don't walk away from here forgetting like, where was that located? So I'll give you all a second to pull up your LinkedIn page so we can do this together. The first thing, if you do not have both a personal and business page, you absolutely want to do that. So here's just an example on the right. You can see a video from me on the 20/10 page where I'm talking about how to create a compelling value proposition. And then on the left-hand side on my personal page, I'm talking about the exact same thing, and I link to the video and the blog post, but I'm using an image and some other wording instead. So 2 different ways of posting the same content. You want to set up both personal and business pages because you're always, always, always going to get more followers, more views. You can see here, right, 2,000 views on this one versus 629 on this one. You're going to get more engagement on your personal page than you will on your company page. And that's just because people connect more with people, but you still want to have those business pages set up for SEO purposes, search engine optimization. So do both. Don't just every day put the same content on your personal page and your business page, but you can do it this way where you have 2 different versions of it. You don't need to post as regularly to the business page either. It could just be a couple times a week, but on your personal page, you're going to want to post much more often. And then if you do have a company page, you can have everybody from your staff, right, resharing or commenting or liking on that page. So that's tip number 1. Absolutely make sure that you've got both of those set up. The second thing you want to do is look at your own, oh wait, I promised you all, sorry. Here we go. So if you come into your page, just for those of you that do have, a personal and a business page. So here's your personal page, right? We're here on my page. To get to your business page, if you hover over me and you can see the different companies that you have access to. So then I can click on my company page for 20 over 10. And now I can manage the company page for 20 over 10. I can look at our analytics, our activity, all of our different information. I can also edit the page as itself, or I can view it as a member. And this is really important. If you are going to leave comments and engage with the posts on your page, you want to do that as a member, as well as your company, right? You're going to get more eyeballs on it that way, because now everybody that Samantha Russell's connected to will see the activity, as well as everybody who's following 20 over 10. So if I want to come and leave a comment on this post, I want to be viewing it as a member in order to do that, so that I'm not commenting on it as 20 over 10. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's how to look at both of those. So next, what you want to do is upload what I call an A+ headshot and banner image. You want to make sure your headshot is high resolution. I have seen so many people, you can tell they're uploading a selfie and their hands in the picture. It does not look professional. And you don't, when I say professional, it doesn't mean you need to be wearing a suit and tie, right? Whatever you would actually wear to meet with clients, if you're wearing like a golf shirt, a polo, if you typically would wear sundresses, whatever it is fine. But you want the picture itself to be of good quality, high resolution. And you also want to make sure that the photo looks like you. So I don't know, raise your hand if you're guilty of having a photo that's 10 years or older, and you don't want to update it because maybe you don't like the fact that you're 10 years older, but that is not a good look professionally. We want it to be an updated headshot. And you also want to smile. So there's been so much research that has shown that we are drawn to smiling faces from the time we're babies. Just a principle of psychology that smiling face is more captivating. So if you smile, you're going to just naturally look and be perceived as more likable. There's also been a lot of research that says you should show your teeth when you smile. How much teeth you need to show is really up to you. What are you comfortable with? So you can see here, Austin is not in a full-on grin as Keith is here. Which one looks more friendly? That's sort of a matter of taste, but again, you get the idea. The other thing is you want to make sure you take the photo in natural light if you're not getting it done by a professional photographer in a studio. So just natural light, as you can see here down here in Keith's picture. If you don't have access to, or the budget to go get professional headshots done, that's completely fine. Don't worry about that. But even on your iPhone, you can choose the right settings, but be outside in good lighting to get that headshot. And this is probably the best tip I'm going to give you all. If you go to Canva, which is a free tool, they have a ton of these custom banner images that you can go in and put whatever you want in to make it look very professional and polished in the background. So this section here at the top of the page is just another place for you to make a great first impression. So here we can see with Austin, he has the logos of different places that he's been featured in. And Keith has his, tagline, that financial guy spreading a wealth of information. So if you go to this Canva link, you will see a ton of different LinkedIn banner templates that you can use, and you can choose one you like. So let's say we were going to use this one. And now when you go to customize it, you'll be able to upload, your own colors. If you've already uploaded them in the past, your logo, you can, put in some little thing about an award you won, whatever it is you want to do. But this is already customized specifically for the LinkedIn requirements. And then you can upload it into your own page, right? So when we come back here to my page, this is my banner that I created with a picture of me speaking at a conference. We got the 20 over 10 logo, and then it says the intersection of digital marketing, technology, and financial services. So having this custom banner is a really, really powerful way to look super polished and tell people that are connecting with you on LinkedIn a little bit more all about you. Okay. Let me see if there's any questions I want to answer while we are moving on to the third one. Oh, Rebecca said she just updated her photo with a selfie. Maybe you can send it to me, Rebecca, and I'll tell you how bad it is if you need to change it ASAP, or you can wait a little while. But for the rest of you, who are asking, should I just use my logo in the background, or should you, create a custom banner ad? I'm going to show you some more here, so it'll give you some more ideas, but I definitely recommend it not just being your logo, because typically with the dimensions of your logo, it's going to be it's like going to be too much logo versus how much white space there are. So you can see in these two examples here, with Jenna, right? She's got her guide that you can go in and click on and her picture and not much else. And this guy, Justin, if you click on his banner, he has this word growth, and then it says how he helps early stage founders and to private message him. So imagine if he had this and then in the right-hand corner, just a smaller logo, that would be fine. But again, your banner is your chance to make another statement about what you do, kind of like your elevator pitch, right? So don't just put your logo there, add something to it that's going to tell a story. All right. So once you get your banner set up and you got it the way you want, the next thing that you want to do is write a great headline. So I have two examples here, but there really is just a very simple formula, which is if you're not sure how to do it and you're just getting started, you want to think about, what do you help people do? And why is what you do to help them, or the approach that you take, a little bit different than other people? So that formula, I help people blank, and my approach is different because blank is really the formula we want to use when we're thinking about creating this headline. So you get 120 characters to do this. Do not be gimmicky. People hate gimmicky. You all just told me when you signed on, you hate being private messaged by people and being pitched and sold. Again, the whole thing you're trying to do is demonstrate your expertise and your authority and have people want to follow along because you're, somebody that is going to share interesting and relevant content. So here's an example from Jenna. Rather than just have this one statement, I help people blank and my approach is different blank, she's broken it up into just words that pack a punch, right? So career strategist to 100,000 plus women, meaning income, faith and work, personal branding, speaker, your career story. She uses a little emoji to break things up. Whereas Justin has, I coach small business SaaS founders to accelerate reoccurring revenue toward 50 million, right? So he's using much more of, this sort of formula. And again, remember, this is just about the first impression, right? So this isn't about generating a lead. It's about leaving a good first impression with people coming to check you out. Most of the time, people that are coming to check out your profile may already have heard of you from someone else. They could be a referral. And so you're just trying to, again, leave a great first impression and reiterate what it is that you're an expert at. If we go back to that last page, in case you weren't looking at it, Austin has, I help people land amazing jobs without applying online. Need help with your job search? Let's talk below. And Keith has LPL Financial Planner, helping people in the Southeast region plan out their retirement blueprints. So what he did unique there too was, he lists that he's in Greensboro, North Carolina, and he says people in the Southeast region. So he's being very particular about the geographic location that he is doing this in. So let me just show you again where to do this headline section. So if you're up in here in your profile, you click on your profile and you click this little editing button. This is where you're going to see the ability to add that headline. And again, you can break it up by using emojis, or if you have like multiple sentences, rather than just using a period, you can use a tall vertical line to do that. All right. Let's see if we've gotten a question. Somebody's saying, Scott is saying, I wonder if anyone has gotten leads from just visiting other people's LinkedIn profiles. I have found if I look at someone's profile, often it is turned that they look at my profile. Wonder if this is a passive way of altering people without spamming them. That is a great question. And, I have found that people, like if I look at their profile, of course, they come back and look at mine. So it's a strategy I've used before with journalists. Like if I leave comments on their, articles saying this was a great article and kind of talk to them. And then maybe they come and look at mine and they see, oh, Samantha is a speaker for financial advisors and we should ask her a question about X, Y, or Z, or if I know somebody's planning an event. So it's certainly a strategy that you could try. Okay. Number 4, you want to personalize your URL. I'd be so curious if you are on your LinkedIn page right now, maybe go look at your LinkedIn profile and tell me, Do you have something that looks like this, that's nice and clean, where it just says LinkedIn and your name? Or do you have a series of alphanumeric characters and numbers that don't really make sense? That's not a clean. So is your profile personalized to just your name or not? And I find that sometimes it depends on when you signed up. Like older accounts are not personalized and newer ones are. But if you haven't personalized it already, you absolutely should. It makes it a lot easier to share. It makes it easier to say to somebody like, yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Samantha C. Russell, versus them trying to find you and you have all these weird numbers and letters at the back of your name. But you also want to edit it for SEO purposes. So if someone's doing a Google search, financial advisor Tim Smith, Chicago, it's a lot easier for you to come up, your LinkedIn profile to come up if there's, 100 Tim Smiths when you have personalized it. And you have a couple different options of how you can do it. It could be just your name. It could be your name plus what you do, or it could be a name plus, a certification. So all of those are fine. We linked here the instructions on how to do this in LinkedIn's support center. And what you want to do is follow these instructions in order to make that happen. Oh, so we've got a lot of people who are saying that theirs is already personalized. Good job. Nice and clean. Brian is asking, can we have it say it first, last CFP? Yes, you absolutely could do that. How important is it to have the same social media name across all platforms? That's a great question. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it isn't. For me on Twitter, if I pull up my Twitter profile here for you all real quick, you'll see that I have the same banner image and profile image, so it's me, and it still says Samantha Russell, but it's not Samantha C. Russell. And then my handle is at Samantha20 because Samantha Russell was taken. But by having the same banner image and photo, it reinforces that it's the same person, right? So that is a good rule of thumb to make it easier for people to realize it's the same person on more than one platform. All right, so that's pretty easy one. If you haven't done it already, it sounds like a decent number of you have not. Great thing to do today. All right, tip number 5 to optimizing your LinkedIn. Turn your summary into your story. So the summary section is one that I often see people just leave blank. And instead, their LinkedIn page is basically like a resume, an online resume, rather than a story about who they are and what they do. And again, the number one rule in marketing is we connect with stories. We use stories all the time. Think about any ads you see on TV or what you're drawn to. It's always about a good backstory of why this company's in existence or how they're helping people. So you don't want just a list of the jobs and skills that you have. You want to tell a story. And the story should really be bringing to life why those skills matter. And most importantly, the difference they make to the people you work with. You want to write this in first person. So it should not say Samantha Russell is a well-known marketing speaker, right? That is not personable. It needs to be in first person. And then you'll have the featured section you can fill out below. So let me show you again how to do this. Okay, so if you come into LinkedIn, again, you're on your page, you're going to scroll down here and this little section that says about, that is where you're going to click. And this is where you're going to write this story. And you can see, again, if you've ever heard me talk before, you know that I'm a big proponent of what's in it for them. You always want to be writing to address what the person reading it is going to be thinking about. So rather than saying, I do this and my goal is this, I want to start by saying something that's not all about me. So instead of starting by saying, I help successful business owners understand blah, 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 I start by saying how financial advisors and clients find each other has changed forever, right? So some kind of statement that is going to hook the person in and get them intrigued about what you're talking about. So this is where you're going to put that story right there. And then right below it, this is something I see very few of you doing, and it's such a great feature that LinkedIn has. They have this featured section, right? And what it allows you to do is to highlight some of your best posts, some things about your website, maybe a video you recorded, whatever you want. So you can see when we go here and we click add, you can show, if you ever had like a really great LinkedIn post and you want to feature it, you can do that. Maybe you were had a featured article in a local newspaper, the New York Times, that quoted you, you can put that there. Maybe you just want to link out to your website, or you want to upload a photo of the time you won some big award. You can do any of those things here. So I'll show you how easy it is to do. So let's say you want to add a link back to your website, right? So you can click that. We can go here, say 20/10, click it, copy it, paste it. And it's going to show up like this. And we can say what we want to talk about, like visit our website for X, or learn more about the services we offer here, right? And then once we save it, you'll see it's popping up here. It's always going to be the newest one. So if I decide after a little while, oh, actually, I don't like the way that works, no big deal. We're going to click this little pencil button, and now we can go in and delete or edit that. We also can reorder. So maybe I like that, but I want it to be last. I can drag and drop it down, right? So those are all things that you can do. So if you have any questions about the featured section, let me know. I recommend having like 3 or 4 things here, and I change them up pretty regularly. So you can see mine. I'll give you some examples of what you could use. For mine, it says, book me to speak, Samantha Russell. And I have a highlight to my speakers page where I talk about my portfolio, how I help people, what I can talk about. So that's one of the things. Then I have an award of the 10 to watch in 2021 that I won from wealthmanagement.com. And it's not linking actually to the wealthmanagement.com page, because that one can go, it's not a page I can control. So it goes, it can go away. The link can become broken. So I actually am linking to my own post about it. And then the last one that I have before I just added this 20/10 one was this video that I did about how to get more local search traffic, right? So you can update these regularly and highlight new content that you want. Okay, so a few people are saying, how do we get the featured section? I don't have it. Let me just, guys, I knew someone was going to ask me a question. I didn't. Okay, here we go. I think it's up here under add section. Yes. Okay, so let's do this slowly so everyone can see it together. So if you do not have the featured section on your profile page, you're going to open up your LinkedIn page, and then under this little section here that says add section, right under your name, you're going to click that. And this is where you can find the featured section. And you can decide first, for the very first time, which one do you want to start with? And then that's how you'll add that first one in. So if I want to just add a link, I'll go and add it. And once I've got one, I'll have this section up here. And then from there, I'll be able to either edit or add more each time. Good question. All right. And if you have questions that we haven't covered about your profile, but just LinkedIn in general, I see a few coming in, please let me know, and we'll address those as well. We want this to be as super helpful to all of you as we can. Yes, we are sending out a replay, so don't worry about that. Okay, so let's move on in the interest of time. So just as a quick summary, the 5 steps to creating a strong LinkedIn profile: set up both the company and personal pages. And if you're helping your firm market, this is something, you can tell everybody, hey, yeah, we have a company page for Russell Investments, but all of you need to have strong bio pages yourself. Smile, show your teeth in your photo, and get a really great banner image. Write an informative headline, but don't be gimmicky. Personalize your URL, and then add that story in your summary in first person, and add your featured section. All right, so beyond the profile, getting your profile right is really important, but then what? It's not enough to just have a strong profile, right? We want to use LinkedIn for growth. Then there's other things we need to do actively every single day. And that really starts with having something to say, having content to share. So what should you post to LinkedIn? By far and away, if you don't want to think about it too much, any kind of information that is going to be helpful or informative is what you want to post. And that can be something you wrote. It can be a video that you recorded. It can be a podcast episode you listen to. It can be something you read in the New York Times. If you're just starting out and you don't have time to create your own content, that's okay. It doesn't need to be content that you created. It just needs to be helpful. So the more that you can share helpful pieces of content, the better. The way that you phrase the content, though, and how you sort of pitch it, if you will, really, really matters. So you can see here on the left, this example, the way the person posted this one got no comments, no likes. The way they posted this one got 24 likes and 23 comments. And I'm going to share the secret to what the difference is here in a minute, but maybe all of you could take a quick look at it and tell me if you, just by looking at it, can see why would the one on the right get all this engagement versus the one on the left barely get any. I'll see if anybody can spot it before I tell you here in the next section. So take a look and see if you can figure it out. But it's really interesting, why one is getting more engagement than the other. So some guesses, somebody's saying you have to click on the link to see what it's all about on the left. And on the right, they're starting with a question and summarizing the posts, not just a large paragraph, but using bullet points. You don't need to click through to get the message. The bullet points are easier to digest, giving some of the info away already. These are all right. You're all right. So whenever you're sharing something, don't make somebody click off LinkedIn to figure out what it's all about and whether or not it's useful to them. That strategy of a topic like maybe there's a title, the 10 worst financial mistakes you could make. And then the person just hopes that you don't want to make those mistakes, so you'll click it. That doesn't work anymore. The clickbait is over. We're all sick of it. Nobody does it. Instead, you will get so much more engagement if you tell people what the content is about. So you don't have to say all of it, right? You can kind of summarize the key points, or you might say, hey, I read this article over the weekend and I completely disagree with it. And here's the top 3 reasons why, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. And then you share your top 3 reasons and you let people come back and engage, right? So those are really, really important things to consider. If you're using a platform that auto posts for you or like sets up your social posts, both 20 over 10 has this through Lead Pilot with our campaigns, FMG has it. Remember, you can go into the platform, and if you already have a great piece that's going to go out, you can edit it. So you can take something like this and turn it into this, and start off every week, spend 20 minutes to just add a little color to each post. Or maybe once a month you do it, or you have someone on your team do it, but this makes a huge difference. The reason we don't do this for every single one is we want everybody to be adding their own, kind of color to these, so that not, a million people have the same thing all over the internet. So it should be your take, your spin on it. Now, the other thing is, in this first one, he says, have you ever thought? He's asking a question and making it not about him. Whereas on the left-hand side, he said, until this point in my career. So again, always remember, when we're scrolling the internet, we don't care about someone else. I hate to say it that way, but we're interested in what's in it for us. So always keep that in mind. And just one more great example, because I really think this helps learn how to craft posts that get engagement. There's this misconception that financial services content is just boring and that nobody will engage with it because it's financial services content. And that is just not true. And I have a great example here from Dave Lowell, CFP, where he got 766 comments, which tells us that this is just not true. So again, we're going to share this with you after today's session. You can go back and look at what's making some of these posts resonate. What do they have in common? Again, it's longer. It bullets out some things for you to know. But one of the things at the very bottom that I want you to pay attention to, he's talking about what he did for this family. And then he says, if you want access to this case study so you can learn how he's helped them and maybe replicate some of that success for yourself, he said, comment case study and I will send it to you. And he had 766 comments. This is a great strategy to use every once in a while when you are trying to up your engagement. So you can't use it every week. You can't use it even every month, but I'll do it like every 6 weeks or something, where instead of just giving the case study away, right? Nobody's going to leave a comment. The algorithm isn't going to know that people like your post. LinkedIn doesn't know people like your post just because they read it. The only way they know that people like your post is if they leave a comment, like it, or share it. So what you need to do is get people to leave comments. And the more comments you get, the more LinkedIn's going to say, this is going to create conversation. So one person leaves a comment and then another and then another. And LinkedIn says, wow, this post is getting a lot of engagement. Let's show it to even more people. And it just starts snowballing, right? So this is really, really, really crucial, is that asking people to leave a comment, giving them a reason to, is a really good strategy to take. All right, so let's talk about the ways to structure your post. And instead of telling you what to do, I'm going to tell you what not to do and then what to do instead. So number one, don't ever start your posts with I, my, or we. We kind of just talked about that, but instead you always want to be addressing the reader, right? So here in this example, can I deduct golfing if I discuss business? That's a great starting for a post. And you can see here too, talking about getting comments. He says, you know, the temperature was in the 40s and 50s in Chicago. People were out on the golf course. If you want to know if you can write off your taxes while discussing business, watch this video and leave a comment, tag a golfing buddy that you can discuss business with. You're going to get a lot more comments, right? 41 comments on this post. So a great strategy to use. You also don't want to use the passive voice. So things like check out, take a look, things like that. You want to be very, very explicit about why someone should read this and what they will learn. So instead of check out my latest blog post, you could say, does all of this market volatility have you nervous about your own portfolio? We have 5 questions to ask yourself to do a self-audit, right? That's much more of a proactive voice than a passive voice. The other thing you don't want to do is to be too broad. This is such a broad article. 6 practices that will make you a better listener. Who is this for? Why do we need to be a better listener? Is it for our marriage? Is it for business? You know, we want to be really ultra specific. Look at this one. Do you have a business worth a legitimate 3 to 5 million? If I have a business worth 3 to 5 million, I'm going to stop and pay attention to what the next sentence is, because they're targeting me specifically. So the more targeting you can be with who, you know, is reading, the better. So you always want to be visualizing who's reading your post. What would stop them in their tracks today and make them pay attention? And never, ever, ever, as in this one, share an article or a link with absolutely no context as to why you're sharing it. Again, nobody cares. They're not going to click on it if it's just the article. You can give your opinion. You can share an interesting stat or fact from the piece, or even post a quote from the article. But you need to give some context to it, because people aren't going to just go click to figure it out. Okay. The last one is probably my favorite, and it's something that's incredibly easy to do. It doesn't take a marketing mind, because I know for some of these you're thinking, I know I'm listening to all of your brains thinking right now, man, this is going to take a lot of work to come up with what to say about all these posts, and I don't know. Even if you don't do more than post once or twice a week, if you do this, you will see growth. And that is follow the 80-20 rule. So every single day, you're going to find 5 different posts that other people have and leave comments on them. And the reason this is so impactful is that on social media, we all get the media part right. We like post things all the time, whether we do it right or not. We're posting a lot, but we don't get the social part right. And the social part is what leads to growth, because the more comments you leave on other people's posts, the more likely they are to go back and look at your profile, or to all of a sudden say, you know, when you finally post something, oh, Samantha posts, she always leaves comments on mine, I'm going to leave a comment on her. So the other thing too is that, let's say I leave a comment on, you know, Tim's post. Everybody in my network that I'm connected to, all 10,000 people, have the option now to see Tim's post. And I actually hear this from people a lot. If they only have a couple hundred connections on LinkedIn and I leave a comment, they'll say, wow, all these people, you know, were commenting, because all 10,000 of my network now have the ability to see them, right? So some great questions coming in about how detailed should the comments be? What kind of post should we comment on? Let's just go through my feed and do it together. And hopefully that will be even more helpful to all of you. I can get out of here. Okay. So what I like to do is first thing in the morning, while I am drinking my coffee before my kids get up, I will go through the 2 platforms that I spend the most time on are LinkedIn and Twitter. So I do this on both. You might only have one, you might have 2. You will want to think about which ones, you want to focus on. So I'll just go through my feed here and start looking at what people are saying and what I might want to post on. Anytime somebody has got something like this, right? It's really easy to say, happy birthday to your dad, Sharon. What a legend, 81, he's turning 81 and been in the business this long. That's great. That's sort of fine, but you want some of your comments to be more meaty and impactful based around what you do, right? So if this is a question, why is it so important to have a diversified portfolio? And maybe you have a quote you always share with clients about, some sort of metaphor or analogy, then you can leave a comment on that. It doesn't have to be somebody you know. In fact, I always say if you've never left a comment on a stranger's post, you're doing social media wrong. So for instance, you can see here, Andrew, I think you're here on the webinar today. So shout out to you. So it says, Andrew Toporo liked this post. Even if Sharon wasn't my first degree connection, because Andrew, who I'm connected with, liked it, I'm going to see it. So even if she's a second or third degree connection, I can go in and leave a comment. And that is how to do it. So just look at what's in your feed. And I'm getting a lot of questions like, what would be a prepper comment or what would you say? Remember that there is no, what's the word? There is no proper right or wrong to all of this. I think it's kind of like if you were at a cocktail hour and you were standing there with someone you knew and someone you didn't know, and the person you didn't know was telling a story, you would have no problem chiming in to the person you don't know and saying something because it's there. You can hear it, you can experience it. With social media, think of it as that. It's a one big dinner party, cocktail party, and you're hearing all the stories in the room and you're able to comment on them, whatever it is that you want to say to add to the conversation. So, it's, again, here's one. Should financial advisors ask their clients for referrals? Maybe you say something like, while this is a no-brainer for me, absolutely, I always ask my clients for referrals, right? In this case, Sarah Grillo works with a lot of other advisors. So she might not be that great of a person to leave a comment on for you if your goal is to get in front of more business executives, if she's not connected with as many of them. So one of the things that, you can always do is think about who in your network are you trying to reach more of, and then comment on people that they're connected with. So if I want to get in front of other tech vendors that we want to integrate with, I might leave a comment on Jack's post here because he is the executive vice president and CMO at Lifefield, a tech company, and he's connected with a lot of other fintech corporate executives. If you want to get in front of a lot more physicians and doctors, comment on physician and doctors posts because they're going to be connected to those people. So think about, who you want to see your comments, and that's who you want to leave comments on. Okay, I'm just going to look and see what questions we have. Somebody was asking, do likes count as those 5, or do you need to leave a comment? Yes, you do need to leave a comment. So make sure you do that. Somebody asked, somebody said certain social media management software does let you cross post. Yes, there are a lot of different platforms, our platforms included, where you can create one post and post it to multiple platforms. If you're going to do that though, I would toggle the timing. So I wouldn't post the exact same message, across all platforms at the exact same time of day. I would say like maybe on Sunday at 10 p.m. it goes to LinkedIn, and then Tuesday at 9 a.m. it goes to Facebook or what have you. So you don't have it going out all at the exact same time. It just looks really spammy. I want to make sure we have just a little bit of time to go about the algorithm. So let me show you this really quickly, and then we'll get to more questions. So in terms of what the LinkedIn algorithm wants to show people, they want to show you the content from users who you have engaged with in the past and the users who post consistently. That's why the commenting thing is so important. If I always comment on Nikki's post, when Nikki goes to leave a post, they're going to show me her post because I'm always leaving a comment. So if you want Bob from some company X you wish he would see your posts, comment on his post. And when you go to post something, he will be much more likely to see it. They also show more content from users who get a large amount of engagement. So the more comments and likes you get, the better. I think we all know that. They also favor lengthy comments over just a high volume of reaction. So anytime you can start a conversation by asking something that's going to get people to add to the conversation, people have an opinion about it, that is a great thing to do. And it prefers native content to linking out. So let me show you what I mean by that. So here on the left, we have a post where you just read it and you get all of the information you need. Whereas on the right, you read it, but then it also has a link. There's nothing wrong with either of these, but you don't want to do all links out because of the way the algorithm works. So like every third or fourth post should not be a link. So you might link to a blog post, you might link to the New York Times, you might link to your website, and then you should have one that doesn't have a link. Maybe it's a picture of your team and you say, we had a great time volunteering here today, or maybe it's just an interesting stat you found. It doesn't matter really what it is, but you don't want to have a link every single time you share a piece of content. And here's sort of my other kind of just tips for all of you. You want to post 5 times a week. The more you post, the more you're seen as a regular contributor and the more your content will be shown up. I already said this, 5 comments a day, choose 5 different posts to leave comments on. And you want to get as many comments on your post as quickly as possible. So within your maybe peer group or your company, you could say, hey, Tim, Joe, and Beth, I'm going to be posting to LinkedIn today, or even better yet, tag them in your posts and then ask them, as soon as I put it up, can you leave a quick comment? So the algorithm will say, oh, this post is getting engagement, and they'll show it to more people. I think I already gave the rest of these tips. So again, in the interest of time, well, I'll leave this up here. If you need more help specifically, because I know this is very overwhelming when you think about, oh my gosh, there's so much that you need to do. Let me simplify it for you pretty easily. Work on doing those 5 things to optimize your own profile, and then start thinking about where can I get access to great content to post regularly. That is where our company is here to help. We have amazing content that you can use in a variety of ways. You might not know exactly the best ways to use it. And we also have marketing coaches that can help you figure out the best way to use that content to generate new leads and tie it all back into your website and things like that. So here's just an example of some of the different types of content that recently we had in our Lead Pilot platform. And again, Lead Pilot allows you to take any piece of content and pre-schedule it out to multiple platforms, doing all the things I showed you how to do, asking a question, having multiple bullet points, but the piece is already written. And then when it gets posted, it'll have your picture, your name, your contact information there. So if you're looking for more content to share for those linking out days, this is a great place to do it. For the days where you don't want to put the links out, you can also copy and paste some of the tips and say, like, let's talk about taxes today. 5 tax tips you should consider, and just copy and paste from the article rather than doing the whole link out. So some more information about that can be found from our website. So if you go to 20over10.com, if you want to hear more about how we can help you, if you just click this talk with our team button, you can learn about our marketing coach program, about our lead pilot program, about our website program, about our compliance platform. And that will give you all the information you need. And hopefully, it will make things easier for you. But let's answer some questions, and I will just leave my own profile up one more time. And again, if we're not connected already, please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you all there. Actually, I'll leave this page up so that if you want to find out where to go to get in touch with us, you can. All right. So Amanda, I haven't had time to go through all the questions. Are there any that we should answer live that you've seen come in?
Yeah, there was actually a good one about running ads on LinkedIn versus Facebook, and is one better over the other? And then also, should they target a specific niche on LinkedIn versus Facebook when running ads? Any insight there?
So good question. It really is going to vary on the business and who you target. Facebook has amazing targeting capabilities where you can really, really target certain, groups of people just based on like income or who they're connected to or what they like, LinkedIn doesn't have as robust targeting capabilities and their ads are more expensive. But it's because the affluence level of the people there, have purchasing power. So I definitely think it's worth it to run ads on LinkedIn. I can't say for you without knowing more, which one I would try first, but I'd probably try them both, honestly, and A/B test. A/B test just means, run the same ad on both platforms, and then see which one you get better results from. Okay. Let's see. Other questions.
Looks like we've got some folks asking about hashtags on LinkedIn, which is a good one.
Okay. I actually had a slide on that and I skipped over it because I was getting nervous. We were running out of time. So, good rule of thumb with hashtags is I like to add 3 hashtags to the bottom of every post that I do. And the way that the hashtags work, if you're not familiar, again, sorry for all the back and forth of the screens, is if you're following a hashtag, like, digital marketing, whenever somebody posts using that hashtag, it has the potential to be shown in users' feeds. Now, I follow the hashtag digital marketing. This was not in my feed. This was not in my feed. So most of them will not be, but there is the possibility that they could be. And if somebody does click on the hashtag, it will filter all the most recent ones for them to see. If you're not sure which hashtags, people are using or which ones are most popular, so like you can do something like, you can look and see how many people are following retirement planning and see if that's even like a thing, if there's a lot of people following it. So we can see there's 15,000 people following that hashtag. But then maybe if we say, well, how many people are following financial planning? You can see 68,000 are following that. So that can give you an idea of which ones are more popular to use over others. I think more important than hashtags is actually tagging people in your post. That's where the algorithm is headed. So you can see here, Tyrone just said, if you've signed up and instead of just writing on-ramp, he tags on-ramp, and now we can go click on their page. They're also going to get a notification he tagged them, which is going to make them more likely to like it and leave a comment. So on every single thing that I post, and I'll just give you a couple examples, you will see that I do both. So I'm tagging at least one business and I'm using 3 hashtags, or I'm sorry, tagging at least one page. Sometimes I tag, more than one. Here's just some examples of some of those recent ones. Another example here of like asking for comments, right? So have you ever considered doing X and then asking people to leave a comment? Here's another one where I'm tagging Y charts and the spectrum group and advisor perspectives, and then using those hashtags below. So, and then you can see the kind of engagement, right? Here's one where I'm tagging CNBC and Tyler Matheson using the event hashtag that I was featured in, as well as some of those other hashtags that I've used. So I think those are good to do both. Travis just posted something. Let's take a look at what Travis is sharing with us here. Travis is saying, okay, thank you, Travis, for sharing this. So he's saying he posted this with an IRS update. He's using these different hashtags, as well as tagging a business, and got some good engagement, some good comments and likes. So, and then I love this here, Travis, that you used like a GIF. Having some sort of movement or video or image is also a great way to get people's attention. So thank you for sharing that. All right, Amanda, I know we have like 2 minutes left. Any other questions that we did not get to?
We did get a couple questions about what are your feelings around upgrading your LinkedIn status? So getting one of the subscription plans on LinkedIn, is it worth it?
I really think that you can do most things without it. If you're a salesperson, there's some good reasons to use it if you're using Salesforce or SalesLoft or Outreach or any of those, because when you're making a list of calls, it will pull in the LinkedIn data. It's not that expensive, so it's always worth trying it out. And if you don't think you're getting that good of results from it, I would not get it just so you can send more direct messages to strangers, which is why I think most people get it. And that's not a good use case. So don't get it for that reason. All right. If you found this helpful, please, 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 let us know if you thought this was a helpful webinar. And actually, one thing that would be great and helpful is I posted about this webinar today on my LinkedIn profile. Go find that post and leave a little comment telling, hey, I attended today. This was so great. And I will be able to find you pretty easy then. And then I can go leave a comment on whatever was the last thing you posted. So if you just go to my page, you'll see I did this LinkedIn workshop post. Come leave a comment saying, attended today. This was the top thing I learned, or this is why it was valuable. And then I'll leave a comment back on your page. And you'll kind of start to see then how this whole thing works with the way comments work. I'll be more likely to see your post in the future, and you'll be more likely to see mine, which is a good bang for your buck. Again, if we can help you in any way, go to 20over10.com and you can check out there all of the different products we have, services we have, and how we can help you. If we didn't get to your question live, we will be happy to try and email you many of you the answers that we missed today. But thank you again so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you next month at our next event.